We were actually in the flood watch this morning or last night.
But yeah, um, it yeah. I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, it was heavy at times and then light, but it kind of was very steady, I guess, and finally let
Yeah.
up up north, towards like Fort Collins and there. Um, there was definitely flooding out in the plains.
Yeah.
Sure, that I saw reports on. All right, what are we doing?
You're looking for a red tractor.
Oh, okay, so we're not combine. Okay, so like we're
No.
flopper chopping. It looks like.
Well, technically, I guess it's called there. What it's
Or is
doing is it's saying it's plowing, but yeah, we're not.
oh, okay, yeah, I um oh, okay, it's one of those kind of, hold on.
Well, it's modified for the map.
Yeah, all right.
You need to go the other side of me.
Oh, okay.
Although I'm almost done with this, but
Oh,
we got more to do than just this. So
okay. Oh, I see. It's funny they call that plowing. This is more like a, well, I don't call it. This is kind of a newer thing, but like more like a, well, it's more than a chopper, but it's more like a spring tooth with a with choppers, and then kind of a finisher on the back.
go, yeah, stay along that edge.
That's what I thought, and
I'll
then
handle everything else.
um yeah, I wouldn't call this plowing. This is like I would call this like minimum tillage.
Yeah,
Or field, well, a variation on just cultivating, field cultivating.
yeah.
I don't know. Those Europeans, they're so different.
Well, but this is an American map.
Well, I know, but I mean, the programmers and all.
Oh, well, but I don't think they were the ones that maybe they were, but
Well, I
I
mean, the
don't
controls are just generically like plow, because it's like everybody knows what a plow is, or plowing does, turning over the soil. This really isn't exactly turning it over like traditional plowing. I don't
I know.
know.
I think normally this would be I think that normally this would be disking,
Well, this would be a, yeah. I mean, this would be a variation of
but
that. Like,
but like I said, the this map, they modified
oh, we're
this
going on
for
that
this
field.
map,
Oops,
so
I thought we had to go straight.
yeah.
Okay, let me get turned. Well, yeah, I guess, but to me, by modern standards, this is more like minimum. Again, like a, if you're doing like a minimum tillage practice, this doesn't go down very deep. It just it, it prepares the seed bed. I mean, that's
Yeah.
what you're doing, preparing the seed bed, but more like, you're not going, because that's the whole deal with plowing is, plowing. Everybody. I still think it's something you got to do in a rotation, but it's like everybody's, the modern thought, or modern as in like really probably the 90s, um that, traditional plowing and going down deep, turning it over, you're losing all that moisture. Where this just minimally turns it, and does the weeding, and then cuts through those stalks, so you can then, the drill or the planter doesn't have to work so hard, uh getting through the trash.
Yeah.
But again, that's the point. proper no-till equipment, you don't even hardly have to do. You don't really even have to. The idea is you don't have to do this step. Really. Saves money, saves fuel. But I know they don't
Oh,
do
there
that
you are.
I don't know. I know they don't. It doesn't. They don't. People don't do it everywhere, and probably six in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Ugh. Equipment's almost a little too big for this field.
Well, yeah. It won't be for the others we've got to do, but
Well, I know that. I guess I should have just kept going across the grass waterway, but I guess I was pretending it's.
no, that's part of the beauty of this field is I like to go around it like it's real. I honestly, when I it's amazing that I do like Welker's Farm. The game version, because I really do not like doing rectangular fields. I like to do I like odd shaped fields that you have to kind of
You got to
work
drive.
around stuff.
Well, that's. Of course, I'm not as familiar with your ground over that way, but you're still down near the river. You got drainage and stuff. So you got. There's fields you had that were rougher ground. I mean, ours, we had bottom ground, terraced stuff, And yeah, none of them, we only have like two fields that are like rectangular where they're easy to plant and all that. I mean, that's the thing with this game is it'll let you plant any which way, and then you can pretty much harvest any which way you want. But yeah, I mean, I suppose there's settings you can turn on for that, because that would make, well, not a field like this exactly, but some of those other fields I've seen on other maps, like especially European stuff, definitely make you have to think about how you need to plant it, based on how you will be able to harvest it. Well, there we go. You were able to post in my chat.
Yeah.
Using your custom emojis there or something.
Yeah.
I You need to figure out some ones. I mean, I know you can like design your own and stuff, and
Well, but see, that's the thing. That's the
but it's
thing
kind
is
of
like,
like doing the
I guess
T-shirt.
I'm
It's kind
kind
of
of still like,
a
yeah, I need to do I want to get the t-shirt done first. And actually, one of the things I'm doing, one of the prints I would be doing for the t-shirt, I would be more than willing to turn into an emoji. It would make some sense
well. I'm just
too.
saying, I have all these chat
But
points that it's like the most I can kind of spend is like 100, and because there isn't anything else set up that I can quote buy with my
yeah,
chat points.
well, but
Well,
it
and
won't
same
let
with
me.
even the
But that
bits
was the
too.
thing when I was setting it up. When I was setting it up, there was nothing else I could do other than that.
Well, yeah, because you're um
I was trying to set up I tried to set up sounds and I don't know why it hasn't worked. Um Either that or no one's just realized, like, only a couple of people know what that would be and they just haven't been playing them. I don't know.
oh, there's like custom sounds or something. Well, I'll try them. I try
Well,
them.
there's a sound buttons, but you got to know where to look. And I didn't want to. I haven't really told you because I would have to tell you where to look, and I'm like I don't even know if they're working. And I thought because I asked roleplay, and I thought he said they were, but no one plays them, which is fine. That's fine because I'm into like his and there's well averages, and some people go in there and just start spamming the heck out of them, and it's like oh my God, stop.
Yeah,
It's like it's fun for a minute, but when you're playing things like back to back to back to back, and like that's just too much, man.
yeah. Well, and you and see, that's kind of like I notice setting up like the cheering or things. I notice on like bigger streamers or people who do this more often. You know, like when somebody subscribes or something. I mean, uh, they have some custom thing that happens on screen when they do something. Like,
Well, I actually do, or I did. I don't know. Maybe it's not. It actually, now that you say that, it hasn't been working. But yes, there was a custom animation thing, and I had it. I had it on there because I wanted something to at least pop up, even if it was very generic, to kind of let me know. Because otherwise, I would not
well,
know if
that's
someone
it.
rated
That's
me.
it. Because I I haven't ever watched a stream, but of his, but and that's another thing I was gonna tell you. I found and was watching, but I kind of watched some speedrunners, mostly like Mario or NES type guys, and well, one of them has obviously like the like the Mario sprite, the original Mario sprite. It runs out and then jumps up and down or something when somebody scribes or has whenever they achieve something. But I know you can do that for a lot of other kind of alerts, I guess. And I don't know. I assume that's something within Twitch, or maybe that's a Streamlabs deal. You know, I don't know because I'm using just OBS more or less stock. Yours is OBS only like highly customized. Um, it's built off of OBS, is
Well,
what I should
a lot
say.
of what I a lot of what I found so far is in Twitch. You have to turn it on in Twitch.
Okay. Well, and maybe I just need to look around. I don't ever log. I mean, I do, but I don't. I don't really ever log
Well,
into my Twitch
I
account. That's the thing.
if my sandal alerts work, it'll be in the top right. There'll be a purple square at the top right of the chat. Um, and I loaded up 10 in there, and they were all kind of somewhat related, to some people do scare and stuff, and I don't want to do that, but like I set them up so that they were related to the farm, and
Yeah. I
um
mean, it's not like I get enough viewers that would even matter. It's just kind of cool to have it
well
have it
that
set
stuff
up
you
so when you do have people in there once in a while, hit the or if somebody would happen to do something like a highlighted message or something come on screen or something. I I think that's something that'd have to be done through I don't know.
yeah.
I've just noticed different things, but anyways, kind of speaking of that brought me into thinking about well, actually, I'll tell you this because before you saw I made a little post like, "Hey, I'm going
Yeah.
live with you." Okay, well,
Yeah.
and we talked a little bit. Well, I guess we were talking in our chat, not on the stream, but about the whole Metallica thing and the records.
Yeah.
Well, Saint Anger what started it, but anyway, it's out
Yep.
of this vinyl group, and of
Yep.
course the 72 seasons is out, and everything. And of course, everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, there was just a flood of posts about it. Well, I just before I got on here, I just scrolled a little bit and saw somebody post, "What's the best pressing of 72 seasons?" And everybody's like, says the one that's on your turntable, or like how many are? It's like how many could there be? I mean, because it's a modern vinyl, and I can't believe that there's more than one pressing plant. Um, and I don't know that there is any variations because I don't think they're really with modern vinyl. I don't think they're really doing that like it back in the old days when you have the first release and then they press that for a couple years and then there's a second release and they might change something or maybe they misspelled something on the label or whatever. They cleaned up production. I mean, but like with modern stuff, I would think it'd be just basic, like a CD. Back in the day, like a CD release. It's all gonna be the same. I mean, unless they, and I don't know enough about it, but it was just funny because there was, as I read through the comments, there was comments like that, like who cares? Well, it's the first. It's still on its first pressing, so this one, the one you can buy. That's the best. That's the only thing you can get. But then people were kind of bagging on it. Now I haven't listened to any of it. So like I haven't gone on to YouTube.
Oh, the only stuff I've
So
listened to has been on the radio.
okay, see, that's why I bring it up. Is I was going to ask you is like I know it's not can't be bad, but is it?
I don't think it's bad from what I've heard.
Well, I don't.
The actual song 72 Seasons is the first one off the album because I've heard like 4 or 5 of them. It's the first one off the album so far that I haven't cared for. And I would say cared for. I wouldn't say I dislike it. It's just um just something about it is just not um it's still Metallica, and it's not as bad as like Saint Anger. It's just something about it just doesn't really
Does it sound too?
sit well with
Is the
me.
song itself just sound a little too generic, or?
Actually, maybe I would say it sounds a little soft. I don't know. I guess I don't know how else to explain it. It just doesn't
I,
really
I
sit well with
I need
me.
to seek it out. I mean, I'm not the most biggest Metallica fan. Anyways, I like the stuff that's everybody likes other stuff, except for I would say I can pick out one song other than Saint Anger, the song, and and then the whole album on that. Um, but the only of the good or golden years, if you want to call it that, of Metallica, I don't like Whiskey in the Jar. I don't like that song.
Oh, I love that song.
See, I don't know. It just is. And again,
I
it's
can
not. I don't.
understand it
It's
because it's
not
a
bad. It's not bad. But again, it's kind of like what you're saying here, and I haven't heard. But it's like I don't think it's bad. I just it's not a preferred song. I guess if it was in a if I had it on CD, it would be a track I skip for whatever's next. I guess.
yeah. Well, part of that though that all came that's a cover album. I mean, sort of. It's a cover album. Like it's a 2-part album. One part is CD is covers. The other part is what is called, or, well, I mean, you know the term, B-sides.
Yeah. Which is funny. I typically, or I guess maybe in my older age, I actually kind of like B-side stuff of just in general of bands I like more than A stuff, but that's probably partly because a lot of the A stuff just totally you've heard it so much, you got to take a break from it. And like I'm a Zeppelin
Yeah.
fan, but I really can't listen to Stairway to Heaven. Or
But I
or
do
even
that with,
Cashmere, or even Cashmere. You know, it just gets played so. And there's others.
yeah. Well, I'm like that with a lot of anything played on the radio, pretty much.
Well, actually, that's the funny part is, um, like with ZZ Top, for example, um, a lot of their stuff gets played. I mean, they have a lot of hits, obviously, that get played on the radio. But then there's all this other stuff that, again, I've always had on vinyl because I don't have, I don't have the first album, but I have everything else. Um, Everything in their prime years, I guess. I don't know what they released after. Uh, oh, whatever was after Afterburn. but the songs most people know the best is things off of um blank uh uh or Afterburner. I mean, after what's on Afterburner and I can't think of it. But anyway, Sharp Dress Man and all that stuff. But there's these kind of like B-side stuff that was on the albums were sprinkled in between those songs that just get tons of airplay that are actually really good because they're kind of, well, I can see why they were a little too experimental for the stuff that got popular in the day. Just has a different sound. And then
Yeah.
their older stuff, like I said, gets less air. But anyway, back to the new Metallica. Again, I've not I need to seek it out and listen to it but I just wondered because people were kind of it's definitely in the minority that don't like it, but there
Yeah.
were some people that were disappointed in it, and who knows what they're actually disappointed in. Maybe it's the production quality of the vinyl or whatever versus how it sounds on streaming. I don't know. I just wondered, is it the general consensus is it quality Metallica, I guess.
Well, I thought it all sounded good. It's just like I just that one song. I mean, like I don't hold that against him, and then it wouldn't be like I'd turn it away if I was listening to the album. It just doesn't hit me like the other ones do.
Yeah, I'll have to give it a shot, but I just again it was a big there was a big hubbub uh around when it released and everybody's posting their copy and they weren't really talking about the music itself until this kind of this post. But and maybe it's the audio quality they're talking about, not really the music itself because I don't know, record people can be funny that way. I mean, I still listen.
I think I figured out my Twitch.
Oh,
I was sitting here messing it. I know what it is. Um, I moved into the offices this week, and um, I wanted to watch the Storm Chasers,
oh, so
and
you
so
had to validate or whatever.
I couldn't remember my password, so I reset that, and of course now I have to go through everything because I reset my password.
Oh, yeah.
But as like I didn't want to watch game streams on while I was at work. I especially can't now because everybody can see what I'm doing. But um, but I, oops, um, I did want to watch the Storm Chasers, and I figured no one would say anything about if I was watching that. Hell, my boss watches SpaceX every time they launch something, so it's like I think I can get away with watching storm chasing.
Yeah. Yeah, the video gaming might
that that would probably sit wrong, you know,
Yeah.
um but yeah, I don't
Well,
think
if it's
they'd
your
say
off,
anything about
but if it's your off, your break time off, lunch, whatever,
no.
off the.
This is during work.
Okay. Well,
Um
it's funny. Oh, hey, Works is in. Been a long time since I've talked to you. Used to chat on Discord quite a bit. He hopped in my chat, but it's funny at my work. Of course, we've talked about it. We've kind of exploded in growth and stuff. So we have all these new people and a lot of young people, which is good because for the longest time it was kind of like we were hiring. I don't want to say old people, but okay, Gen Xers.
yeah.
If I had to make a blanket statement, but now we have younger people in their 20s, people who are just getting started, and it's fun. It's exciting, actually. But just the norms. It's like they're everybody's got wire. Well, not everybody wireless headphones, but everybody's got headphones in or an earbud in. I mean, I do. I've kind of always done that, but um, it's funny. It's definitely the norm to just people are streaming. Obviously, mostly music stuff, but some people are sitting there. I mean, they're doing their work. They're getting their stuff done. I guess I have no problem with it, and I'm not their boss. People's bosses, and they're getting their work done. So whatever.
Yeah.
But they're like watching, not TV shows, but some kind of video show, and they're plugging away. I mean, they have obviously jobs where they don't have to be on the phone and stuff like that, so they kind of do that. But I think that's just kind of the norm or accepted. It To me, it's weird just because I don't do that. I only sit and pay attention and watch something. If I have an earbud in, it's because I have music. But if I'm going to watch videos, that's going to be on my.
Yeah.
So
Well, that's what if I'm watching YouTube, I'm watching that I watch that strictly at lunchtime.
yeah,
But I would turn on streams and watch streams and stuff, but um I also where I used to sit, there was um most people wouldn't see where I'm at, and now that we've changed where now the way our desks are, I can't do that anymore. And then like the owner could walk in at any moment and see what we're doing, and um so I was like, I don't want to risk it.
well, and the thing is and the boss man is older, but he's young enough though too that you know it's not he's not a boomer boss, I guess, for lack of a better way to say. So obviously it
It
doesn't.
well, and
I
my
mean, if
boss,
somebody's
so
productivity went way down or is down because of it, obviously they're going to get talking to. But I
yeah,
guess
well,
it's fairly lax. And I don't know. I think that's kind of more the norm because when I talk to some of these people, they've had jobs before this one, little things here and there, and they're kind of like, oh, well, that's just the modern workplace, sort of. Yes.
well, so my boss is very much like that. I know because he has caught me watching, watching streams while I was working, but he never said anything. It was like, but if my productivity was down, he would have, well, don't be watching it. And speaking of that, so we hired this kid. Hey, Waking. How are you today? So we hired this kid and or a younger guy, and he was watching anime, and I'm like, we're not talking about like watching like what we were just talking about, where you turn a stream on and you're working while you're listening
More
to his
listening
stream
to
and
it, yeah.
maybe glancing at it every once in a while. No, he was like, let's put everything down and fully invest our time into this anime. And my boss, because of the productivity was so bad, my boss is like had to literally tell him you can't do that during work hours. And he goes, "Oh, I can't. I didn't know that. I'm sorry."
I mean, you're here. You're getting paid to work. I mean,
How'd that go, Waking? He played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 with the buddy.
uh, well, anyway, let's see. We
Yeah.
kind of we got off topic, but I was gonna mention something that I watched over, or well, this week because it took a week to get through it all, just doing it little bites at a time on lunch. But is I it's a channel that I wasn't subscribed to, but I always there his videos were popping up in my recommendations, just because I watch some of the speedrunning stuff. And well, I guess he's in the speedrunning community. He's only got like about 10,000 subscribers or whatever. But anyway, he came up with this idea, um, and as we followed through with it, is like a live, like in person, like speed run races, amongst a bunch of people. Now, kind of doing live runs is nothing new. There's a game convention called AGDQ, Awesome Games Done Quick, and it's been going on for I don't know how many years, but seems like about 10 years, maybe. And it's like a charity event. They raise each time they raise like $1 million for whatever, like St. Jude or something. Pretty cool. Um, but anyway, uh, he did this thing where it's like, okay, I'm going to invite. Well, first I'm going to develop the hardware and software to run this race. So with the timers and everything, um, but also so he could run. I think he had 8 people running, able to run at the same time. This was Super Mario Brothers on NES's original hardware. So his code or his is just observing, so it's running on real hardware. And but anyway, to watch it, and they edited it all together to make it kind of like a sporting event, feel like a sporting event. But you could record it and you could watch it, and people watched it in person, where it overlaid, each player's playing Mario, so each player's Mario in real time, so you could see where everybody was in real time. And and again, with the speed running, they lose and gain time by doing tricks and stuff. And it was really entertaining. But here's the thing. I was watching the first one, and he got these sponsors and stuff to help pay for it, and it was at this venue, that's this game store. But one of the sponsors was Red Rocks Community College, and then this, which I've never been in, but I've seen it because there's one near me, Level 7 Games, which is like a game store out here. It's got a couple
Uh-huh.
locations. And so I kept watching, and then, they revealed, and this guy lives here. Some of these guys live here. I didn't even know that. I mean, and he did this at a game store. Just it's kind of like up north, um, but I could have went and spectated, and some of these speedrunners are, I mean, in the speedrunning community, they're like legends. Um, but it was, and his whole deal is he hopes to have like a whole circuit and tote this around the country and do different games and all, and then actually live stream it eventually and whatever. But I was like, So I joined his Discord just to find out when he has the next one, because it probably will be here. It's like I'm gonna go watch just because I've I've watched these videos online and stuff. Katie thinks I'm crazy because like I watch these documentaries on it, and she's like, "Oh my god, the way they make it so dramatic and stuff." She just is like shaking her head, you know, like, "Oh, and he just missed the record by 3/10 of a second or something," And they have to do these frame perfect inputs and all this stuff, and they're like breaking the game down to the code. The speedrunners have done that, but it's like anyway, this guy and then one of the commentators who was like doing kind of like an analysis. So like if you didn't know like these tricks and these terms they were using for the game, he's a one that kind of documents what's the best theoretical time for these games, everything from certain NES games to Super Nintendo to other PS1. I mean, doesn't matter. And he was breaking it down, so it's like he was there, and I mean, I don't know. It just I saw the work involved and was pretty impressed because just what we do here is, and like this isn't hard to get started streaming, but there's a learning curve to getting all this thing set up, and this guy basically took it to the nth degree. Is like, okay, I'm gonna custom modify all this and set up 8 CRT TVs. That's the other thing, because they're playing on original hardware, and then had it running through. One computer was capturing everything, and then the other one was running the code to keep track of everything, like keep track of every player's movement and everything, and then display it and overlay it. And he wrote the code. That's the thing, he wrote the code. It was almost done. The bulk of the work was done literally by one guy, to put this together. So anyway, it was just fun to watch it, and then find out that it was like literally like 30 minutes away from me. They did this thing back in like November. So it's kind of a tournament style. So they did like 8 races, and they were doing Super Mario Brothers, and they were doing the what's called the any percent category, which is use warps, and then of course obviously use all the tricks you can to shave time, but basically they can just warp through the game. And of course the world record is 454 or 455, under 5 minutes, and these guys were doing it live, consistently hitting around that 5-minute mark. I mean, they weren't going to be setting records in a live setting, and honestly, the guy who currently has the world record, they're almost at the theoretical human limit with the game anyway. But it was amazing to just see all these guys, these top people. I mean, finishing within seconds of each other. That they just memorize the moves and their strategies for doing certain things, because there's like in-game code manipulation they have to do by you hop on this Goomba but not that, or you kick this shell and not that one, and it changes the random number generator to give you later, and like you do this all in like world 1, and it sets up thing for world 8 if you do everything in the right sequence. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's also amazing, like display of skill. I guess that's why I watch it. Well, it's kind of like when you were out here, we watched that one, or I didn't understand, and was that Minecraft speed run that was like a specific seed or whatever to kill the dragon, or it's kind of like that. It's kind of like
I don't know if it was a specific,
or maybe it was
seed.
Random seed. I don't know, but it was something to that effect. But I didn't.
You you would just you would think it would be specific though, because man, things could spawn so far away if you didn't know.
Well, that's the thing. I forget which one we watched, but there's different categories for that. There's random seed, there's specific seeds, there's other thing. There's so many categories for that game. But that was the thing, is like I didn't know. Again, that's what fascinated me about even watching what I did watch about Minecraft speedrunning was, I thought that game was pretty much just a. I mean, yeah, you got like the survival stuff, objectives, but it's like open. It's so open world that I didn't think that there was a way you could even say, "All right, this is the quickest way you can beat the game," because I didn't think there was truly a win the game kind of
Well, I
aspect
think it's
to
one
it.
of those things that I think it evolved, because I think originally when they made it there wasn't, and then they kind of, it's like, you know what, for those people that kind of play that way, let's build something in that you can do that, but
Yeah.
you don't have to do that if you don't want to.
Well, right. Well, I guess what I'm talking about is, most other games have like a campaign, and then there's the other open world. Well, I didn't think Minecraft had that, but yes, it kind of does, or always had. And that game's been around since late 2000s or something now,
Yeah, I don't know when it started. Let's Google.
something like that. I mean, but anyway, anyway, I guess that's the other thing is of course, I only watch speed runs or videos about speed runs on games I'm have some sort of connection or familiarity with. For example,
It
kind
says it says Minecraft came out in May of 2009.
okay, so I was kind of close. Thousands. Like I've watched some videos on like various versions of like Mario Kart, and apparently every version, even up to like the latest iteration, those games are like for speedrunners, they're a joy because they're incredibly broken in the way that it that should you know how to play it and do the inputs, you can totally do like skips and shortcuts and like these tracks. Some of them you can beat within like something like in one of the versions, and I think it's 64. There's one track that, I mean, if you just always casually played, you'd say, "Oh, I don't know, what are they doing?" Or they got to be some kind of cheat, emulator cheat. But I guess it's like some course you can beat in like 15 seconds if you can do some hop, jump, power slide, you know, and get out of this one frame window where you can like sneak through this where two planes intersect, and then it thinks you completed a lap, and then Lakitu puts you on track right in front of the thing, and you do it again. You do it three times, and you beat the track, or whatever. And
Yeah.
it's like somebody had to sit there and brute force to figure out that, oh, on this singular frame, on this singular pixel, if you hit it just right, you can fall through the floor, and then but it counts as a lap or something like that. It's stupid. I mean, it's silly. It's like, oh my. I mean, then I think about it, it's like, okay, now I don't think it's a waste of time because I mean, obviously dedicated to it, but then it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, well, what do you do for money or a job? See, they must these some of these must be kids that still pretty much live at home with their parents or something, because don't because not all of them are like big name living off their streaming
Well,
people.
either that or that's like, that's all they ever do. Like when they play, that's all they ever do. That's the only game they play. And they sit there, like, what I'm imagining is if they did have a job, if they're at work, and
thinking about it, I
they
suppose.
got 5 minutes, they're just sitting there daydreaming about how can I make this go faster.
You're probably right, but even like the top, um, well, and you know what? When some of them do, some of the top ones that, of course, are kind of living off of it now, but they had to get there. Well, a lot of them worked like food service and stuff. Like they've talked about it. How I know this, like they just did minimum wage job and then come home and stream, and for hours or something. I don't know. I guess that's why I'm not successful at this, is because I don't spend enough time at it.
Yeah.
It's a release. Well, and it would have been a release for them too, because they hate their real jobs, so they run Mario 3 or whatever. I don't know. It just seems just a different world, I guess. Just a different
Well, that's just what they're
situ.
into.
Yeah, it is, and like I said, I'm not knocking it because their abilities are amazing, and that's what gets me watching, really. But I kind of get it because before I came in stream here and kids are taking their showers and stuff, I fire up one of my arcade machines, and I've been working on, well, obviously I've set the high score, but I've been working on continually upping the high score on one of my machines in Galaga and Galaxian, and now I've pushed them to the point of where it takes me a couple of nights before I beat my next high score by any measure. and now, and I got on Galaga, um, I've got it so high that it takes I can't even get to halfway there before they're done with their showers. So, um, yeah, so that's probably where it's gonna sit because I just won't have the time. But so I kind of get it because it gets a little addicting. Well, that's the thing on Ms. Pac-Man. There for a while, I was playing that, and I've got the high score set at, I don't know, 150, which again for professionals and stuff, this is nothing. But it's like I can sit and play for like a half hour and get 150,000 points, and get to the last maze where then it just cheating and the ghost power pills don't do anything, and you just have to keep almost sort of repeating the pattern. And what usually kills me is I distract myself and then I make a wrong move, and that means that ghosts move differently than I expect, and then I'm out of sync with their pattern, and then then they get me
Yeah.
eventually. But now it's like it takes so long just to even get to 100,000 that I can't do it just sitting there. So that's why I started working on more of the shooter ones, and now I'm working on the strategy. And I haven't looked up, but I know there's a way to do it. Now with Galaxian, I figured out how to maximize points for each board, or almost maximize board. But the other one, I still haven't figured it out because, but I get it.
Waking says Pac-Man World Repack is awesome on PS4.
Yeah, see, I don't have, the only console I have is an Atari 2600 and a Panasonic 3DO. So I have my arcade machines. So
I have, let's see.
the thing,
But no, I do have, so I don't have a PS4, I have the Xbox One, but I did buy Pac-Man. I have Pac-Man, Dig Dug, and there was another game, and then I also went went and bought Contra. It's like a bundle of all the different Contra games. But really, the only one I bought it for was just to play the
Regular,
Contra like
regular.
on regular NES.
Yeah. Um, which, oh, that game. I mean, you can get so you play it, but again, where I didn't, I always had to borrow time to play on somebody's NES because I didn't have one.
Well,
Growing up.
but
I never got. I
my
was
my
never able to
opinion
get
my
good.
my opinion on Contra though is you need to that's a two-player game. You don't play that one unless you sit there and you get really good at it. It's a two-player game if you want to get anywhere.
Yeah, but I've watched speed runs of it, and if you know the patterns, you just can whiz through it. But with like
Well, yeah.
going back to speaking of Pac-Man, I do like some of the newer iterations with the like online leaderboard and stuff like that. And then remember when we went to that arcade, that one where up to 4 players, that I forget what it's called, but that's kind of a new take on it. But yeah, I guess just the old school games are what I prefer because they're quick time wasters. Same with like my Atari games. Again though, some of those I'm like asteroids and such. I can roll the score over. So over 1,000,000 points and sit there and just keep going and going and going because I've just as a kid played that game so much, even as an adult. That's why I sometimes bust out the ones I don't, the lesser known titles, just because they're more of a challenge because I don't. It's like some of them I might not have picked up since I was in my teens, and I kind of forgot exactly the strategies to them. But yeah, well, with the kids' age they are, I have less time and sit and play myself. But we do play. We get out the NAS Classic, and Tucker's getting old enough he can kind of do. He can play okay, like beat a level or so in Mario. We will do that, or he watches me play through Mario 3, and of course I'll use the save states because we can't sit and play that one all the way. But
Yeah.
sometimes we'll do the 2 player action and he'll try. The funny part is it's like he has hard time beating level 1, just 1-1, but then like I'll let him play like an airship level and he'll beat it
Yeah.
and beat one of the Koopa kids in the airship in like one of the airship levels. Like just I swear it's got to be kind of sort of. Sometimes it looks like it's fairly random, but he it's not that he's just mashing buttons, but it's like, he doesn't. I don't really tell him the strategy. I let him figure it out. That's how we had to figure these games out, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I had
learn the
Nintendo
pattern.
Power. I had Nintendo
See,
Power.
no, well, Noah had Nintendo Power, but again, we never read it. I didn't get to read it, and I mean, yeah, there was the game manual, but it doesn't necessarily tell you the
Oh,
routes through
I
things.
I
But
saved all those because
do you
or at
have
least
them? I mean, that'd be something
I
just
have
to.
a few of I have a couple of them still left. I can't remember if I have one that has Super Mario
Well,
in
it
it
doesn't
or
have to be that one. I just look at it just for
no, I know,
routes.
but if I do, that's probably the one I still have, is what I'm saying.
Well, it's kind of like me in the cycle world and Dirt Rider. I mean, my dad was a subscriber back in the '70s, so I have all his cycle worlds from not their beginning, but few years after they started, and so some of those issues are. And then I have mine from the which I almost just was gonna throw them away. It's like, what do I want these for? Why I'm keep them? And now they're all through the '90s, and I'm like, oh, you know what? There's some articles about Doug Henry in there, Jeremy Kraft, and just stuff like, some of this historic stuff, which a lot of that's on the internet these days too. But you know, it's kind of different to read through it, before, well before the internet, and then reading the
Speaking of
articles, and then reading the articles about, his season or somebody's season, and all the Trans World Motocross ones for that matter, and then knowing how everything was going to turn out.
speaking of that, I'm assuming you're caught up on the races. I
Oh
was,
yeah, yeah.
because I'm usually the. What a crazy finish to the. I mean, I know it's not finished, but what
It
a crazy finish to the season.
Well, yeah,
In
it's
all,
basically
in
finished,
the
but yeah.
in the
Well,
last 2 week, I mean, last two races has just been crazy for the season
that's the thing.
for the championship.
All the all the top contenders are out, and now
Well,
Tomac.
except for Chase.
Yeah, well, Chase Sexton, yeah, which yeah, um, and I like him. I think he's a good rider. He just was kind of cracking under pressure there for a while and throwing away first place for second, but Tomac in that deal, I'm a lot of people are hopeful. I think he's probably gonna be done. I don't. He's on the end of his career, just age wise, and these like Chase, there's just too many of these guys coming up that are just gonna be fast. You know, Barsha's getting past his prime, but he's still kind of fast, and again, like these.
Well, him and Roxon, like they're both like
Well,
up
Roxon's
there,
running
but
out of time too, but
they're
he's
both up there, but they every once in a while they'll just happen to hit the race
just
just right
right. Yeah.
and get up there.
That's the thing. I think it's been a while since, and Tomac was kind of the closest thing to another, one rider being dominating, but
Yeah, well, yeah, but really only have you really have three of them because him, Webb, and Sexton. But unlike Reed and Carmichael and James and those guys, like these guys, you don't really want to root against them because they're all just
yeah, well, that's the
they're all
and that's what I've
good. They're
liked.
all just good guys that you just like you
Well, and that's
kind
what
of
I
hope
like
that you
about
wish they could all win.
this new this new era, I guess we're in, that we've been in for a while, because it was pretty cool to watch Carmichael from the 2000s, the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. But then it kind of got, and even with Stewart coming in there, it kind of got a little boring because it was always just, well, who's going to get second place, kind
Yeah,
of thing. Um, but that's the thing, these kids coming up, they've got the benefit of just all this. That's how Carmichael did it. You just become a robot, you know. And all these kids are. But that is another thing is, I don't know. Some races seem a little robotic purely because they are so calculating. That's why these last few have been crazy to just see the what's happened. But I like it that there's no one person that's just gonna dominate.
yeah. Speaking of Carmichael and Stewart, I I think it's kind of funny listening to them two in the booth
Oh
because
yeah,
it's um like when Ricky was with Emig, you could hear him just get digs on Emig all the time. It's like with James, it's not quite like that. It's like they're a lot friendlier, I guess is
Well,
probably the best way to
they're the
put it. They're
same
not
era.
they're not they're not they're not they're not necessarily mean, or the digs aren't. I'm not catching the digs like like what he was doing with Emig, where
Yeah.
he was just like
Well, and I
downright
think
being dirty
I think
on
that's
air.
well, and see, and I think that's because James and Ricky are so similar in, well, a, they're of the same, pretty much the same era. I mean, they're separated a little bit, but more or less the same era. But the reason they were so good is because their regimen was similar. They had the talent, and then they had the 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 trainers, the fitness, the work ethic, and all that that other writers of the time didn't have. And that's even of Emig's. I mean, Emig even admits that he, you know, screwed around during the week, rather than just pounding the laps or riding the bike or do. I mean, he did the. I mean, he had a part of his career. I shouldn't say he always did, but he had a part of the career. He was smoking weed after the races, kind of thing. And it's like, if you're gonna be the best, now you can't even can't even think about putting something that foreign in your body.
Yeah.
You need every little edge. You can. I'm sure they don't even drink, or their sugar intake and their salt intake are like monitored by their diet. That's how. And I'm thinking, go back to same with McGrath. He put the dedication in. Nobody out. I mean, Henry was good, but the reason why I think McGrath beat out Henry is Henry was still like one of the old guys. It's like, yeah, he had all the talent, so he, like Bob Hanna, for example, just went out free riding after sometimes, rather than actually, testing with the bike and all that, unless it was his prescribed time. Where Carmichael and Stewart, they basically, that's all they were ever doing, just riding that motorcycle, make it better. And
Yeah.
Emig's era, yeah, they did that, but it's like, okay, that's like 3 days out of the week. Or that well, and the sports progressed, and so is the money and everything that teams were putting to it too. Because I mean, I thinking back into Emig's, he was after Hannah, but not that far after Hannah. Like Bob Hanna was sometimes riding stock bikes, like actual production bikes, just with customizing the handlebars or the seat or something like that. But a stock motor, stock frame, generally stock shocks, just set up for him. Versus, because he was faster on the production bike than he was on these weird experimental works machines. He's noted of saying works bike was terrible, so I just said, get me one out of a dealership and I'll race that. You know, Almost kind of like Pastrana sometimes. Just go get a stock bike and put better tires on it, and good enough for him. But yeah,
I heard more about.
and I think that's why, is because Emig or Fro, he was a partier and didn't, by today's standard, he wasn't taking it seriously. And Carmichael, again, he just, that's what he did. So yeah, he can rib on him because he can back it up. But like with James, James is almost an equal with him, or argue you could say
Well,
is an equal, because he developed techniques that he was doing things on a motorcycle that nobody else could do or thought about
do you
doing.
want to continue doing this, or do you want to go um harvest another field?
Well, I was actually thinking, let's see, it's quarter after 9.
I did not realize it was so late.
Yeah, I'm thinking, I'm gonna pretty much call it, I think.
Okay,
Rather
that's
than
fine.
get started into something else, we'll leave it for
Yeah, we'll just park them here. I'll I think I don't know if we'll do this map next time. We might mix it up a little bit. Um
I'm okay with anything.
well, I was actually kind of thinking about I kind of wanted to go get those potatoes off of Elm Creek that we had.
Oh, the ones that we dumped? Oh,
Yeah,
let's see.
I
So
think
can
that
you
would.
pick the so we'd have to pick them up, like load them, get a scoop or something?
Well, there's actually a machine that does that, but I think it would be kind of fun to do.
Yeah, maybe that's something we should do for
Uh,
next.
I, actually, because that's the only thing that I have on that map, and I figure if we do that, then maybe I'll just dump that map. I don't know. I can always keep it. We can maybe, but I was just thinking about when I came in, and I was like, well, maybe we jump back over on Green Valley for a stream or two or something
Yeah.
too. What is run? This
Yeah,
is
your
this running.
headlights are still on.
Not anymore. I was like, what does
Well, no,
running?
they're they're go look the front. At least in my view, they're on.
Yeah, they probably are. They
Gonna
are.
run the battery down.
Oh, I'm not too worried about it. They'll shut off when I exit the
I
game.
know. uh, but
But yeah, I was thinking we should maybe we'll finally go get those potatoes.
yeah, no, that
We-
would be a
They've
good
been
good.
they've been laying there for about a year. We
Yeah.
might want to might want to pick them up.
No, that would be good. Well, and the thing is, whether or not if Derek jumps in too, yeah, because that might be something he'd
Well, but
like doing because he's like, oh, it's just going around in circles. This is something where you'd have to actively run your machine, and
I don't think I think what he likes to do is he just wants to just come hang out. So he'd prefer
oh,
to just hire a driver and just sit here
okay.
and BS with us.
Well, he could just hang out on um Discord. He doesn't even have to fire up the game. I mean, it's not like he's streaming.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, that'd be a good idea. So let's pretty much plan on doing that next, unless you get a wild hair for something.
No, that's I think it's been I think it's time. I got 3 of these maps sitting here and we haven't been on Elm Creek for a long, long time.
Yeah,
So
I've kind of
and
forgotten
the
what it
only
looks
reason
like
I
almost.
and the only reason I saved that map is just because we've got all those potatoes and we
Yeah.
talked about picking them up
Well,
and
pick them
we've
up. We
never
can
done
take them
it.
down to the McDonald's and make fries out of them.
If I remember right, that's the map that we've already overloaded the McDonald's there.
Oh, that's right, because that's what we were doing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we did all those contracts and I don't know, we had like ended up with like 5 or 6 contracts and they all went to the same restaurant.
Yeah, that's right. So